Hi, my name's Paul Cresswell. Welcome to Paul's Tackle Reviews. The purpose of this channel is to give you reviews of tackle that's been out on the bank, tried and tested by an unbiased, unsponsored angler, and that's me. Today I'm doing something I'd like to do more of, but it's difficult because I have to buy all my own tackle, and that's comparing different rods. So I've got 3 Pellet Wagglers rods that I'm going to compare and contrast, having used them on the bank catching fish, and I've also got some other details about their weights, etc. that I'll give you during the video. It's a method I really enjoy. I think it started for me in about 2006 when Mark Dickinson turned up at our venue. Nobody had ever fished this before, and he took the place apart and was winning week after week. You got the usual idiots who said, oh, we need it to be banned, it catches fish. So we all learnt it, and by the end of that year we'd developed skills, and I've done it every year ever since. It's a brilliant method where you're aiming to catch good sized carp. In terms of what you need from a rod, you need a rod that's beefed up. So we're not in the old 13-foot 3-piece waggler rods with a little insert waggler. We need something that's going to be, in general, handling fish from 3 to 15 pound is where I find myself when I'm fishing the Pellet Waggler. So you need something with power that won't hook over straight away, got power in reserve so you can play the fish and deal with big fish. After much trying, I do prefer an 11-foot rod, and I've tried a 12-foot rod, and I don't feel the benefit from it, to be honest, because yeah, you might be able to cast a little bit further, but I can cast as far as I can feed pellets with an 11-foot rod, and it's not very often you're fishing past where you can feed. It's a busy method. You're casting, you're twitching, you're feeding all the time, you're reeling in and you're repeating. Most of the bites you'll get, as the float lands, the pellet should land beyond that, and you get quick takes straight away. So you've got the rod in your hand nearly all the time that you're fishing this. So I've been using the Drennan Carp Waggler for 5 years now, I think it is. Brilliant rod. I've done a separate video review of that rod. So whilst I'm going to talk about it today, there won't be as much video footage of that rod. It's a brilliant rod. The only 2 reservations that I've had about it are the distance between the reel and the butt of the rod is a little too long. And it is a very stiff rod, and I do feel with casting, if it had a little bit more play, it would be a better casting rod in terms of accuracy. I think it's perhaps, for my personal preference, just a little too stiff. The 2 rods I'm putting it up against today are the Maver-RXX Carp Waggler. That was £135. And the Matrix Horizon 11-foot Carp Waggler, £150. Let's get on to some details, and I'll put plenty of pictures up again so you've got all the information. So in terms of weight, the Maver comes in at 178 grams. The Matrix and the Drennan both weigh 129 grams, although Matrix tried to claim that theirs is 119 grams on their website. It might be my scales, but we're consistent here. These have been measured on my kitchen scales. So the Maver is a heavier rod, and when you hold it in your hand, it does feel heavier. Allied to that is the how thin the rods are, and the Matrix and the Drennan are very thin rods, very similar profile, not much between them. The Maver does have more thickness to the rod right the way through the rod, and that maybe accounts for the extra weight as well. All three are lovely rods to look at if that's your kind of thing. Not much between it, but the Maver's got a lovely carbon wrap that really does look very, very nice. So let's talk about the handles, and I'll put a photo up, and all three of the butts of these rods are in the same place when I took the photo of where the reel goes. And you'll see this issue that I've raised with the Drennan. There's probably 4-5 inch of Drennan butt below the elbow when you're using the rod, and it just feels a little too much. I do like the positioning of the other two. The other two have also got the Fuji reel fittings, which are lovely. Probably prefer that over the Acolyte, but I've used the Acolyte without problem at all. It wouldn't be a showstopper. It hasn't got a Fuji reel seat, but the Fuji reel seat is really nice. So let's look at the number of rings on this rod and put a picture again. All three of them have got 10 on the tip section, and the Maver and the Drennan have got 3 on the butt, and the Matrix has got 2. Interestingly, Drennan have just launched a new Pellet Waggler rod that it seems to imply it's a beefier rod than the Carp Waggler, and it's got wider rings on, and they've only put 2 on the butt and 9 on the tip to aid casting. And it is a case that you want to try and fish with the lightest float you can get away with. When this all started, we were casting 12-gram floats, splashing in. The fish were coming to the splash. That doesn't happen as much now, so you want to get a nice light float landing in, pellet beyond, and that's when you get the fish. In terms of casting between the three, there was nothing in it distance-wise. I've had them all out, same setups on each rod and casting, and I felt distance-wise there was nothing in it that you could really tell. I think I prefer the Matrix and the Maver because there is just a little more play in the rods than the Drennan that's super stiff. And I think that gives you a bit more whip when you're casting as well. Overall, in terms of accuracy of casting, the Matrix wins this for me. And since I've been using this rod, I've been seeing fish and I've been casting at fish. And that's not something I found that easy with the Drennan. Again, a bit too stiff to allow that super accurate casting that you need. And that kind of plays into the recovery and the stiffness and the crispness of the rod. The Drennan is super stiff, so if you hold it out and you waggle it, it resets almost instantly. The Matrix, tiny bit behind because it's got a bit more play in the rod, and the Maver's third on that, but it's still a crisp rod. They're all very crisp in the action and the responsiveness and how they recover. Now the playing action, I've got videos now. I'm going to do the Matrix and Maver, and I'm going to show you me catching a fish with them, so it gives you an idea of the playing action. And I've also been out in the garden, hopefully got the silhouette right, and I can show you me lifting until my clutch really kicks in, so you can see the kind of hoop that the rods take on under pressure. So we'll cut away to that now. So I did include a video of the Drennan in the back garden as well, and so let's go through the three rods. The Drennan is the stiffest, but it's still quite a tippy rod. It's got a very fine tip, and I have found when I've been using this rod, it's quite good on small fish as well. Anything kind of half a pound up, it's not too stiff, you're not bumping them off. The Maver was a bit more of a through action, butt to tip, so it was a bit more of the kind of end shape, if you like. It isn't as tippy, isn't as fine at the tip, and it does bend right down through the rod. The Matrix is probably similar to the Drennan. It's kind of middle action and then quite tippy again, and it is quite a fine tip. Overall, what's my view? And there aren't many bad rods on the market, and all three of these rods are brilliant rods. I'd be happy using any of them. That said, as I've been able to compare the three rods, the Maver comes in third for me, and I do like the action of the rod. I do think it's a big fish rod. It's a lovely finish to the rod, but the one thing that really lets it down is the weight of the rod. And at 180 grams, it's a third heavier than the other two rods. And as I said earlier, it's a method where the rod's in your hand all day, and that will make a difference. And it is noticeable when I'm using it. I can tell I'm using that rod straight away, because you just have that more weight when you pick it up and strike in. The Drennan comes in second for me. It's a lovely rod, and it's served me brilliantly. It's great for small fish and big fish, brilliant playing action. But again, it comes down to that handle being slightly too long and just a little bit too stiff. Now, this is down to personal preference. I like a bit more play in those rods. Other people will like it so that it's super stiff. So it is a personal preference. But the Matrix for me is the best of the three I've tested. It's everything I want from a Pellet Waggler rod. It casts brilliantly. It's super light. I love the tippy action. So if you get small fish, you're still fine. And I really enjoy using it. And it does suit what I want from a rod, and different people want different things from a rod, but it really works for me. It is a personal thing with rods, but I do hope this has given you some pointers, some ideas. There's lots of good rods under £100 now. Don't think you've got to spend £150, £200 to get a good rod. You might have seen my review of the Nitro rod. Somebody who bought the 9-foot feeder bought the Pellet Waggler and posted on the comments to that video that it was a great little rod, and that's 40-50 quid. There's Preston ignitions, there's Guru A-class, Guru Engage. These are all under £100. There's lots of good rods to fish the Pellet Waggler out there. If you can spend more than I've spent, and the new Drennan, I've done a quick search, and the best I could see was about 190. The Preston Super X was 225. Now, I've got Super X. I would love to try that rod, but I can't justify spending that much for the amount I'm going to use it. And I do feel 150 quid for the Matrix is an absolute bargain. It is a fantastic rod that is an absolute joy to use. And having got this Matrix Horizon top end rod, I'd be tempted now to try some of their other Horizon ones as well. It's given me some real confidence. That's it for today. I hope you found that interesting and informative. I've been away for a couple of months, not doing videos. I'm going to get back into it. I've got 2 or 3 things lined up that I'm going to review very soon. If you want to give me a like, a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, you'll obviously get automatically notified of future videos. Any comments or questions, put them below. I will come back to you if you do ask me a question. Until next time, tie lines.